Siman Yud Aleph, Seif Kotzen, Yud Aleph, Yud Aleph, Yud Aleph. Im Hagedil, Shekoren Rabbi Eliezer Stahl. Now, what's this Gedil, Shekoren Rabbi Eliezer? The explanation is there's actually a mistake. I'm sure probably in the newer Mishavos, I'm sure they've corrected it. On the previous page, there's an explanation of the word Gedil in the words of the Ramah, which I think is supposed to be over here. On page 40, on the third line, it says Hagedil hainu achelik matzitzis she'eino orug. That's, I think, supposed to go on this word here. What we're referring to, we're referring to the end of the garment where you have to unstring the arm woven, where you only have part of it. Right? In our tzitzis, in our talis, they've made tassels out of it. Right? If you have the, it's just to make it look nice. At the end of weaving, you always have the leftover, what's called the warp strings, right? The leftover strings. So the question is, do you count that when we're working, calculating the distance of the hole from the end of the garment, which we said is more than the kesher agidol and less than 3 etzbois, which we said is between 4 to 6 centimeters. Does one take this into account or not?
But our tzitzit don't have that where the holes are.
And there's very good reason for that, and that's what we're about to find out.
Okay.
well noticed. Good observation. Okay, so lo yatel by tzitzis. You can't put the tzitzis on the part of the beged which is on the tassels. Right? It has to be on the main part of the beged. Lo yatel tzitzis. From hitel by posel, the tzitzis are posel if you put it there. Tal kanfei bigdein ksiv. It has to be on the corner of the beged, corner of the garment. That's not called part of the beged. V'zein nechshav me'abeged is not considered part of the garment. Aval oilehu l'shir meloi kesher gudol lahachokas gimel etzbois. Kim shanekav secha beged. The Shulchan Aruch says that when we calculate the 4 to 6 centimeters, we do take into account the tassel. We do count it, but it has to be that the hole, the actual hole where the tzitz are going through, is actually on the actual garment. Right? So if the tassels are less than 4 centimeters, let's say the tassels are 3 centimeters, then you'd position your hole just 1 centimeter from the edge of the actual garment. That would give you a total of 4. If your tassels are more than 6 centimeters, then you'll have a problem. Right? Because you're measuring the from the edge, and the hole's not allowed to be on the tassel, as we mentioned. Okay? Hagor, that's the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch. Hagor, the Ramah says, the Ramah is machmir both ways. He says when we calculate the minimum shear, one has to calculate this without the tassel, without the extra strings at the end, from the edge of the actual garment. Whereas when we calculate the maximum shear, we have to calculate it from the edge of the tassel. Right? So if the tassel is more than 2 centimeters, we're going to have a problem. You're not going to have any way you can put your tzitzis. If the tassel is only 1 centimeter, right, then you'll be okay. Then you put it 4 centimeters at the end of the garment, which is 5 centimeters.
And those tassels are, even with the knot, are almost 3 centimeters.
This tassel is 5 centimeters.
Right.
So the end is 5 centimeters.
And there's a knot in the middle of it. So it's probably really 6 without the knot.
That's pretty average.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about average for our tailors. So you can make a garment, however, you could have a lot less. Right? The way they make our tailors nowadays with this is 5 centimeters. So if this was in the corner of the garment, you'd have a problem, according to the Ramah. Right? Because you'd have to measure the minimum shear of 4 centimeters. The minimum shear of 4 centimeters would be measured from the edge of the garment. You'd have to distance 4 centimeters in. Whereas the maximum shear of 6 centimeters we're measuring from here, there's no overlap, right? There's no way you can put the hole, according to the Ramah. Right? The minimum shear would mean the hole has to be here, whereas you've overrun the maximum shear of 6 centimeters measuring from the edge of the tassel. So according to the Ramah, if you have tassels on the corner of your beged, you're going to have a problem. Right? So the obvious solution is, as he mentioned, we're going to see the Mishnah is going to mention this. Right?
What she said again?
Which is that on the corners of the garment, make sure there are no tassels there.
Which in general also is...
Which is what they do. Yeah, you'll find that the tassels stop before the corner. Right? On all the talis, and because of this problem.
And it actually solves 2 issues at the same time, right? Because what they've done is they don't sew the bottom of the hem. They use knots to keep the thread
Right,
through.
right.
But in the corners,
Right.
they put a second patch on to strengthen the corner, right? And sew that area, that whole
Right.
square,
So it doesn't
right?
need a tassel.
So it doesn't need a tassel either,
Right.
to tie it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at quickly at the Mishnah Berurah. If you just look at the second bottom line.
In Nun Zayin?
Sorry? Oh yeah, in the middle of Nun Zayin, just the second bottom line of the page. You'll see he mentions what we mentioned. Right, Sofik Meilin Min, because this is Sofik. Right? He mentions what we mentioned, that yes, you should cut off the edge of the strings, what would be turned into tassels, the end of the warp strings, you should chop them off at the place of the corners. Right. Just using the second line. Okay. Right. Okay, let's continue with the Shulchan Aruch. There's that next halacha. Seif Yud Beis. Okay, Seif Yud Beis. We're now on the top line of the next page. Minyan Chutei HaTzitzis. B'chol knaf arba'a kfulim. The number of strings of tzitzis are 4 strings doubled over. Shem shemoneh. Arba kfulim shem shemoneh. 4 strings doubled over, which makes 8. V'im hosif possible. If you have more than 8 strings, it's possible. Yachtoich roshei hachutin ha'arba.
Because of Baltosif?
Yes, the Mishnah Berurah actually is marich in this. Is there a problem about Tosef or not? It's a machlokas rishonim if it's a problem about Tosef. He brings down the opinion of the Gra. The Gra says that it's not Baal Tosef unless you put in a different material as well as your Chutei Tzemeh. If you put in an additional material of string, then it would be Baal Tosef. But he brings other opinion that having more than 8 strings is already Baal Tosef, even if they're all woolen strings.
The 8 strings is all Torah Moshe Misina?
Yeah.
Because in the Gemara, in the Chumash it just says...
Correct. Yeah. It's darshan from the Psukim. If we look at things you asked that question, things you asked that question. Let's look straight down at what we are doing. Let's finish reading the Shulchan Aruch, then we'll look down in the Mishnah Berurah. Let's finish reading the Shulchan Aruch. Yachtoich roshei hachutin ha'arba'a v'yitchevein beknaf v'yichpelein v'oz yiyutches. You should chop up into 4 strings, put them through the hole in the corner of the garment, double it over, and then you have 8. Right? Let's look at the Mishnah Berurah. We'll look at the both of them. Since we brought up both points. You asked about Baal Tosef and you asked about how do we know 8. So we'll look at both of them. Mishnah Berurah, we discussed them both. So if couldn't nun ches. He says, how do we know 8 strings? Dalet kfulim domina b'gemara gedil. In the Gemara, the Gemara explains the following. It says in the Pasuk, gedilim ta'aselecha. Right? In Parashas Tzitzis that we read in the Kriyas Shema, it says Tzitzis. Right? But in Parashas Kiseitze, I think it says gedilim ta'aselecha. Should make gedilim. Tzitzis are called gedilim. Right? Gedil. Gedil is the part which is wound up, right? So for Gedil it has to be a minimum of 2. Winding things has to be a minimum of 2. Gedilim is written in the plural, Gedilim, so that means Dalet.
Okay.
Full. Right?
We're halfway there. Oh, Dalet, full string.
Full strings. Right? Pirish. You have a ksiv Gedil have a mashmash time, the engel bachas mash time. Hashut ksiv Gedilim Dalet mash, Gedilim Dalet mashmas. It implies full. When I had tcheles, they made 2 tcheles and 2 lavon. Mentioned that's a bit machlokas showing them how many strings of tcheles there were. The Mishnah Berurah writes 2 of each. But we didn't have a lavon b'makom tcheles, and dalet arukim misha lavon. Nowadays we make all 4 from all 4 white. Okay, let's carry on reading. Sorry?
Quick question. So that's the source of 4. What's the source for folding it over to make it 8? We need 4 so it would be Gedilim.
Right.
So maybe we should just have 4 long strings.
No, but we have to. There's halacha. We have to do a knot. We're going to have to do a knot.
So now
in order to do a knot, we have to double it.
Create 8.
to do. Yeah, this is all. Yeah.
It's going to break it in half, so it's for sure.
As you said, it's all halacha and Moshe Messina how to do it, but there are parts of it. Parts of the halachas how to do it are learned from the Pesukim.
It's really 8 ends and 4 strings.
Right. 4 strings is gedealing, the 8 ends is because of the knots.
Right.
It's an interesting question because you could, based on what we're just learning here, have it folded over so that you've got 4 long strings hanging out. And no, you have to have 5 knots though, right? Yeah. Okay.
We'll see in a minute if the 5. Why we have to have 5 knots? It's not midrash, and one doesn't need the 5 knots. That's a rabbanon. We'll see what the minimum is according to the Torah and what the rabbanon added.
Because if you only had to make 1 knot, when you folded it over, that 1 knot could be right where it normally is, and then the string, one set of strings could be long and could be where the knot is, could be the end of the other set of strings. That's to say, you wouldn't have 8 ends hanging all the way down.
Oh, I see. Right,
you'd have 4 ends hanging down.
Right. Just for the knot, one would need to. You're right. So
if you were doing 1 knot.
Right. But so the halacha Moshe Messina is that we have to have 8. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. We'd have to come back to halacha Moshe Messina. There would be a way of doing it without having 8. Yeah. Since halacha Moshe Messina, one has 8.
Oh no, there's a drasha I think in the next Mishnah.
Oh, you're right. Excellent. Well spotted. So we've got a test, Shem Shemoneh. After Shenichnisem beveged v'yichpeleim b'dichsit psil, ke'ein psil oshu kofon. It has to be like a wick, which is folded over.
I was going to ask about Havdalah.
Because the word psil, and we learn from that it has to be folded over. It has to be doubled over. There we go. Okay. So we've got Samach. Posel mishum de ka'over abba bal tosef. There's opinion of the Shulchan Aruch as we mentioned. If he has more than 4 strings, he's over on bal tosef. V'agor b'vi'ur of hiskim lahalocha l'shitas ha'iter hamuva b'beis Yosef. Shesova de'ein b'zeh mishum bal tosef. The Gur holds like the pit of the shit of the bal ha'iter. The Gur is the Vilna Gaon, right? Beginning of the 18th century. He holds like the shit of the bal ha'iter. The bal ha'iter is one of the Rishonim. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak ben Abba Mori. He lived in Provence.
Does he specifically focus on Hilchas Tzitzis that we call Balo
Itul? Balo Itul. Right, no connection to Hilchas Tzitzis. No. Itul Hamuva Beis Yosef Shesova De'im B'zeh Mishum Bal Tosef. The Chi Poslina Bigmor B'zeh Dafka B'Shehoisiv Min Acher L'Hachutim. It's only Bal Tosef come to the Balo It if you added on another type of string, could go in chutei kanbus or itzemer gefen. If you put a cotton string together with the wool, in addition to the woolen ones, or hemp. Kanbus is hemp strings. Avoboisoi hamin machsherin on afilu lechatchila lohoset kama sheroitib. If you put some woolen the same material of tzitzis, he can add even more than 8 if he wants. ולכן מסק דמסום כבר ואפשר לסקנם יוכל ללך בהם אבל מיד שיוכל לסקנם סוף לסקנם ובגויים אחותו מכל עם הפוסק this basis. So there are opinions that holds is not Bal Tosef, but at the first opportunity he can wear it like that if that's what he's stuck with, but he should at the first opportunity take them, undo them and retie them with only 8 to be the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch holds this Bal Tosef. And if he has less than 8 strings, and according to everyone, is a problem of Bar Tigra. It's possible according to everyone. Okay. So we've got Samach Aleph. Yachtov Rotzalem Lechatchila Yachtov Kodem Shitchim Baknaf. V'yesh Lechotchem B'Shino V'Loi B'Sakin. You should cut them before he puts them through the horn on, and you should cut them with his teeth and not with a knife. Right? We mentioned, and we talked about that a few days ago.
Right, but. I thought that was after they have the Kedushas tzitzis. That was before that.
Right, you can see even before one shouldn't cut it.
Yeah.
The idea is like the Mizbeach, lo sonef aleim barzel, that we, because the barzel shortens the life of a person. So therefore we don't. I think there are also reasons for Kabbalah why to cut it with teeth. I mean, we mentioned other methods of cutting it to avoid using a knife.
Yeah, we got
So I think it's easy
Yeah.
to cut our strings with teeth. But I think the Mekobalim have reasons to have to use teeth.
The Rabbi Ostrikers don't.
Right.
Well, it's actually not that hard to do with teeth if you wet it first, right? I mean, that's really what happens is you wet the thread, and then it's
I think I go with your stone first. I need to cut mine.
But they're pre-cut. The ones we get
Right,
are
right.
pre-cut, and it's only a question when you finish if there's an issue.
Yeah, the series of others, when you
I'm jumping
finish, if you
ahead.
have one of them too long,
I'm jumping ahead in a question. Either one of them too long, or sometimes one of them starts unraveling.
Right, and you can have that.
Is that kedai to cut?
Right, yeah. Yes, so that's
You could cut or you could tie it just as it's unraveled. Too.
okay, let's move on. Let's see Sif Yud Gimel. Yizor lachte Roshei HaChutin Lasos Ches Kodem Shichroich. One should cut the ends of the strings to make them into 8 before he ties it. Shem Korach Afilu Cholya Achas Perish. If he did the windings, the kosher Afilu Kesher Echad, and then did a knot over those windings, and then he cut them posel. And it's possible because of Tasav and also because at the beginning he didn't have 8. He only has 8 after he cuts it. Right?
And it's already partially wound.
And
Why
so
does
partially round.
That's what makes it Tasav and also.
Yes.
Why does he not have 8?
He does have 8. It's a mitzvah.
Let's talk. Imagine if you put in one string, one long string,
Okay.
in and out of the corner, that folded over.
Oh,
So
I
then
see.
the edges of the strings are folded over, and you then chop each one, and you can make the.
Right, so
split
you
it
wouldn't
to
have
ends.
ends until you finished.
Right. Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So if you did this, if you've already finished the knot and the windings and then another knot on top, then it would be possible because of Tasav and knot. So the Mishabur just before mentioned that halacha-theory you should cut it before you put it through the hole at all.
Right.
You should make sure it's 4 strings before you even put it through the hole. Okay. Let's continue Sif Yud Dalet. We're not going to finish. We'll probably have to come back to it. Let's start now, and we'll see soon in the Mishabur on Sif Yud Dalet. There's a long Mishabur which explains to us Midiraisa what you need, Midrabanan what you need, and that would explain to us also why over here we mentioned one knot and one lot of windings and one knot. We're going to see that it has significance. It's not just the beginning. There's more significance than that. Let's start with Sif Yud Dalet. Yikach dalet chutim mitzad zeh v'dalet mitzad zeh. Take 4 strings from each side. V'yiksha shnei pa'omim, make a double knot, like 2 knots, one on top of the other. Zeh agav zeh. V'achar kach yichru chut ha'oroch sovev ha'sheva k'tzas. Then one winds the long string around the other remaining 7 strings. He's using one to wind the other 7. And he ties 2 knots, one on top of the other. Then again he does the same thing again. He winds one long string around the other 7. He knots again, does another one, until altogether he's got 5 knots, kfulim, 5 double knots. With 4 lots of windings between them, 4 lots of windings between them. There's no minimum share
Of the wrappings.
of the wrappings. Okay. It just has to be that the total amount of knots and wrappings has to be a total of has to be 4 finger breadths. And the anaf, the gedil is the part where we have the knots and the windings. The anaf is the tzitzis that hang down. The anaf has to be 8 gudolim. We mentioned that the total should be 12 finger breadths, 12 gudolim. Right? So of that 12, 4 should be the winded part. That's 1/3 should be the winded part, and 2/3, which leaves you 8 finger breadths, should be the tzitzis. Right? Should be approximately
The area
a ratio
beyond
of 1
the
to 2.
knot.
Sorry?
The area beyond the knot.
Beyond the knot.
Correct.
The last knot.
Beyond the last knot.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Hagor, v'mherich hatzitzis, if the tzitzis are longer than that, yishiso yehi gedil, ve'es chalakum anaf. If the tzitzis are longer than 12 gedolim, 12 finger breadth, then you should still keep to this ratio of 1 to 2. Right? 1/3 should be gedil. Right? So if let's say his tzitzis are 18 finger breadths, right? So he would make the anaf would be 6, and then the tzitzis would be 12. Okay, let's stop here.